Hey, I'm Bo the Mechanic. I'm back again. Got a cool video for you guys again. This, if you guys might remember, is all the parts to my Supra, my Super ski boat. I've got a Super comp, and this is all the parts. You know, in another video I made, I showed you guys we were trying to figure out what's wrong with my boat motor, and this is the motor that I pulled out. This is a 351 Windsor V8. And, you know, I told you guys that it had some problems and it had blown the head gasket, blah, blah, blah. Well, I went ahead, I didn't have very much time, so I couldn't make a video, but I went ahead and yanked it apart and put a new head gasket on it. And actually it had cracked the block right here a little bit, had a little bit of a crack in it. And being the redneck savant that I am, I just wanted to practice brazing anyway, so I kind of just ground down into here. I brazed it back together. And I figured, hell, what the hell, I'll try and rock it for a couple weeks and see what happens. Back in the old days, in the 50s, they did redneck stuff like this because they had to. And, you know, so I tried it anyway. My brazing still held, but unfortunately what did happen is that the coolant passages, which is right way below this, actually cracked. So, you know, with adding the increased pressure on the cylinder walls on both sides, you know, once I brazed it back together and I got a new head gasket in here, all of a sudden you get tons of pressure on each cylinder, and it eventually just cracked all the way down. And so this block is now junk. It did work for a couple months, you know, so proof and concept is there. My brazing all held and worked, but unfortunately, you know, it's not a long-term fix. Maybe it would have been if we were, like, you know, on a dozer or like a, you know, Model A Ford, but not on a 240 horsepower 351 V8, which is what these are. Long story short, so that's my motor. I yanked the thing completely apart. I broke it down, you know, basically took the head gaskets and the heads off, took all my lifters out in my cam just because I can. And what I ended up doing is finding another block. So this block right here, I bought for $100, and you know, it's not new for damn sure, but I got it for $100. It's new to me. And I went ahead and brought it to the machine shop, and you know, I ridge reamed it because it had some wear in the tops of the cylinder. So I ridge reamed it and I honed it and deglazed all the cylinders. And I went ahead and put new cam bearings in it because, you know, I might as well, it's already completely apart, and just, you know, basically just cleaned it up. Ran it through the acid vat. So this block right here is my donor block, okay? You know, it was a complete motor when I got it, but I just, you know, all I want is the block. I don't want the rotating assembly, and I don't want the cylinder heads. So, you know, now what I've got going on here is I'm going to take my whole rotating assembly from this block and I'm going to put it in this block. And you can do this, you know, fair warning, like, you know, I do this all the time. I do, you know, mechanic work and I do machine work a little bit, and I kind of know what I'm doing. And you can do this, but the problem that lies in this is that this really isn't a, you know, true rebuild. You know, what I'm doing is I'm basically just going to take these pistons out and I'm going to re-ring it. You know, that block had wear, and it should have been bored, and you know, it's a couple thousandths out, but you know, for my use and for how much I use the boat, you know, I don't want to drop $1,000 in it. I've got, you know, $200, $150 in that, with new rings, cam bearings, and honing it, and freeze plugs. And so, you know, for $150 for me, this is the best decision. You know, for you, you know, if you've got a Supra and you're in, like, facing this kind of an issue where you got a blown head gasket or a cracked block, you're probably going to want to do it properly, the right way, which is going to be to, you know, take your block and junk it if it's that bad, or sleeve it and bore it, or, you know, find a whole other donor block and actually bore that block and buy new pistons, new rings, new rod bearings, mains, and all that other kind of stuff that you need. Have the crank polished. But like I said, for my use, you know, I'm doing it a little bit differently than you guys would. You know, the block is okay. It's, you know, it's right at the end of its life. I mean, I definitely would rather have a brand new block or have that one bored, but, you know, money is an object, and it's an issue, and I'm not going to waste a ton of money on a boat that I only use every once in a while. So anyway, so like I said, I'm going to show you guys how to do this, and basically we're going to take this up, I'm going to drain the oil out of it, and I'm going to yank all the pistons out, the crank out of it. Everything's coming out of this block. It's all getting cleaned up, re-ringed, and reassembled in that block over there. And all these parts over here are going to go back on that motor. Crazy as it may look. So here we go.